Welcome back, folks, to Fire Theft Radio. We have been MIA. We're still alive. They didn't take us. We're still here. What's up, man? How you doing?
Not dead yet. I'm doing all
Not dead
right.
yet. All right, we're handling. We're overcoming 2026. Last time we were here was late. No, was it late November or I don't even remember. September, I think, when we talked about abortions, and that one was a hot topic. But you know what? Most of the feedback was positive. I think a lot of our listeners are all about that. So we dig it, and he's agreed to come back to talk about other things. So it should be
Yeah.
great. It's gonna be cool. So, but we've been busy. I got two little lads, as you guys know. I got two little lads. I got to raise all by myself. Now, just playing. I have the wife, and then
Right.
Maverick has been busy with a lot of stuff. And me and him are doing a lot of things behind the scenes. We're busy bees. How you been
We
besides that?
are.
I kind of know your life, but people don't. So I'm asking you so you can tell them.
Well, it has been let me just say, from my family to everyone else listening, we were happy to see 2025 die. Um that was a rough year for lots of different reasons. And but at the same time, there's a lot of exciting things going on. Doing a lot of deep research, more so on the theological end than the fringe end.
Hmm.
But yeah, got plenty of books I still working on reading,
Yeah.
but doing some research in sort of those theological areas, and then also getting a little bit deeper in ministry um, in Africa, which I'm sure we'll talk about in subsequent episodes. But still prepping to do some of those things, and still finding some crazy things to talk about. I know we're going to be talking about some crazy things tonight. So
Right. So we're gonna start it off with this little thing. We're gonna get right into it. We can babble on about all our lives here. I don't
Babylon.
want to waste your time because we've already, let a lot of time pass. So let's get right into the sauce. We're gonna start a little bit with a tiny little, I guess, commentary. You can say it's entertainment breakdown. So because it's tiny and it is about this specific show, I have to play the sound. Here we go. Entertainment breakdown. That's right. Good old Sam Swanson made that for us. Sam,
Oh yeah.
hope you're doing all right, brother. Now he reaches out from time to time. He's doing just right. But anyways, I know you didn't see it, but I did. I saw the finale of Stranger Things, and it was all right. It was fine. I mean, it was actually pretty terrible writing, but uh, I had to see it through. I seen seasons one, two, three, and all that. So I wanted to see how they finished this whole thing, and everyone's already talking about it. And if you don't know, when actually one of the first topics we cover here on Fire Theft Radio was Chuck and Omar back in the day, episode 5. So if you want to hear the actual conspiracies that the show's related to, that were not conspiracies, it turned out to be true stories, or the show is based on true stories, with government experience, Project Philadelphia, Project Montauk, all these different things. We talked about that way back when. I'm talking about 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago. And there's a lot to be said there. So that if you want to know about that stuff, we just go over there and check that episode. I'm not going to be covering that again. And oh yeah, and Mav over here showing the book, "The World Turned Upside Down" by Dr. Michael Heiser, the late Dr. Michael Heiser. It is a great book.
Yeah.
So the reason I like the show, I'll tell you, is because it does kind of present this reality to the spiritual world that we kind of dismiss all the time, that we live in all of the time. And that book that Michael Heiser wrote really just brings that to life, where in all reality, the spiritual world is surrounding us right now. Right now, as we speak, we're talking, and there's evil happening, most likely plans, all kinds of stuff around you that you're not aware of, but it's there. And that show really kind of brings it to life, because the upside down is like the same world, but it's not. But it's the dark side, right? It's where the demogorgons are, is where evil's at, and all that good stuff. But it's the same. It's still Hawkins and all that, right? And that's how it is across the entire world. And you should, remember that as Christians, that we battle these powers and principalities, right? That show is really kind of a good personification of the spiritual battles that Christians confront on a day-to-day basis, right? Now we don't have actual portals opening up and demogorgons coming through like in the movie or the show, but
I don't know, Chuck. Speak for yourself.
but
Maybe we
honestly,
do.
but there's a truth to that. There is a reality to that where, there a lot of scientists and a lot of people for a long time have been trying to open up portals, Hellboy style, and let entities in and all of that stuff, and you can kind of get into the sex magic stuff and all that. It's a real thing that people do pursue. So that show brings that to life because there's scientists meddling around with things they're not supposed to, and they open up accidental portals and things happen. And this mind flare was already there, and it was like a whole thing where it really just honestly is painting the biblical world of the fallen ones. And for that reason, I enjoyed the show. But what was more nefarious to me when I watched this finale is that they really went all the way in with kind of like a Gnostic inversion of everything as usual. And what I mean by that is it's interesting that Vecna is the one that brings to people's minds that the world is that we are broken. He keeps saying that we are broken. And like usual, it's usually the evil guy, like the good evil guy, the good enemy or the good antagonist sees the reality of the world in a very clear way, but their approach to it is usually anarchy, power, control. Like Joker's always a good example of that, right? He actually is correct about a lot of the things, especially the one personified in the Dark Knight. He says a lot of true statements, but his way of assuming that control or his way, how he retaliates, it's a very evil, negative way. And Vecna keeps talking about how we are all broken and all that stuff. And, he says, well, in order to fix it, I'm going to have to take control of it. And so what he's doing in the show is he's trying to combine the spiritual world with the physical world, the upside down to the right side up and all of that stuff. And that's literally like as above, so below kind of things, right? Immediately it goes into the as above, so below kind of Kabbalah magic stuff. And you're like, oh, wow. They're really just pretty much talking about Jesus bringing about a kingdom or a savior bringing about a kingdom to the world. Because that's the whole idea is that in the future, in the book of Revelation, we're talking about how the future spiritual world will come, heaven will come to earth, and it will be one again, just like it was in Eden. And so that concept is like never ending in shows like this. And I don't think even the writers are aware. I feel it's part of that thing that I like to talk about with you, Mav. The what's it called? The design that we have. What God designed us, the inescapable design that is innate within us, that we have this written in our hearts. We just have different versions that manifest because we're most of humanity is ungodly and things like that. But we can't write new stories. We're just writing the things that God put inside of us.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I think, again, full disclosure, I didn't watch the last season. I felt like even the fourth season was probably a little too much. Probably should have just ended it at that point.
Yeah.
I just didn't have any interest. So I don't know. Does that mean that the show failed? For me, it kind of did because I just really didn't care anymore. But that being said, what you're talking about as far as this inversion, that's what a lot of Gnosticism does. It says that there's secret knowledge, and at least when something is displayed like this in a show, you can see in the beginning it was secret knowledge. People didn't know what was going on, didn't have the answers. A lot of these shows, a lot of these stories end up breaking down when they start to explain it. So what happened in the Matrix, which is it's incredibly Gnostic show, incredibly Gnostic movie, and I think we've talked about it before. This one, I could have predicted that it would have just fizzled out because you can't invert the story properly and have a satisfying ending because you can't have it then end in a happy story because you've actually been following along with what we regard as the opposite of what we would call the correct path, the correct way, right? And Avatar, the with blue people, not with the Airbender, but Avatar does it as well. There's all these stories. There's no satisfying ending because you can't get to a satisfying ending when you invert the true story. And there's quite a bit written and discussed on this idea of stories really telling just ultimate truths, and twists are when we all know what should happen but it doesn't. Everyone kind of inherently knows, at least how it's presented in our culture. So when you're talking about something like that and you're talking about these heavy themes, you get to a certain point where it does feel like it runs off the rails because there's just something inherent in people. And the scriptures talk about in Romans how inherently humans know that there is a God. Well, then how are you supposed to end the story if they inherently know and reject throughout their life? How are you supposed to really revert that and invert that aspect of it and have it end happily?
Right.
If it's fitting, you should probably end it in a tragedy
That
to
was
make it
kind
work.
of. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying you have to end it in some sort of a tragedy to make it work, but that's not satisfying for a lot of people.
Well, that was one of the inversions. I'm glad you brought that up. Is they took the God character out throughout the entire show because the Savior is a person. The Savior is L11, right? The Savior is actually them as a group as well. So now the humans are their own salvation, which is the first lie of Genesis. With when Satan told them, that, there is no God. You are the gods. We are all gods, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so really, spoilers for sure. By the way, if you haven't seen the show, but that's one of the inversions that's very important because they are all agreeing that there is an absolute evil and it's personified in Vecna, Mind Flare, but there is no good. Like there is no, spiritual other side good. It's just human beings. So it's like they almost don't want to take it there. They just want to talk about the dark side of things, and you are the savior. You are your own savior, and they really kind of one up up the ante there with one of the characters. I believe it's Will, who finally comes out of the closet because he's gay, and he comes out of the closet, and until he accepts the reality of who he is and tells everyone that he's gay, then he can have his full powers that he was able to siphon out, from Vecna and all that stuff. And I just thought that was an interesting thing because that's actually what's happened in our society for the last 20 years when the gay community literally took over everything, and they really just came out and guns blazing and transformed politics. They've transformed everything. And I feel like that's the end result. The battle is that, everyone's making fun of the fact that he came out and he was wasting time coming out while the world is ending. And that there was like an episode dedicated to it. And yeah, it was an awful waste of time. And I feel like it has to be there just to hit all those markers. After all, it is Netflix, so it has to hit all the sort of propaganda, right? And then so there's that. There's the God character is removed. The humans are the savior, L, which is another name for God himself, right? If you know anything about L11, all of that, it's related to God. It's maybe the lowercase g gods, depending on their specific belief, and all that stuff. And maybe it's just a coincidence, right? But I don't think so. Not knowing how all this stuff is connected, right? And the other thing is they get 12 children, and they get 12 children, and of course that reminds me immediately of the 12 disciples, because Vecna needs the 12 children in order to bring about his spiritual kingdom. And that is literally what's going on in the Bible, in the New Testament, where God starts with these 12 disciples, which become apostles, to bring about his kingdom. It's the same thing, and so they're really just taking from these already biblical archetypes and then, rebranding it, and just making it more humanistic. And honestly, that's what makes it more evil for me, because it's those kind of ideas that incept people right? Because I've met many people who don't believe in God, but believe in the spiritual world. They believe in demons. They believe in ghosts. They believe in the dark side of spirituality. They believe in magic, black magic, but they don't believe in God. And this is honestly what this show pushes very subconsciously into people's minds. And I think that's something to be aware of, at least because and that's the more dangerous part for me. So, yeah, just be careful, folks. Obviously, I'm never going to tell you, not to watch shows like this. I think we say these things because the truth will set you free from its agenda. So, watch it with a lot of care. Uh, Sometimes I pray before I watch certain things, honestly, and just kind of careful with the discernment. And I'm very good at keeping my mouth shut until it's over because I don't want to ruin it for my family because everyone hates me for that. So, so yeah.
Can't take
Anyways,
you anywhere.
yeah, for sure. But I don't know if you saw anything in the episodes that you did see that you want to bring in. Otherwise, we could move on. But that's just kind of what it was. Honestly, everything was inverted. You know, and it just felt wrong. Oh, the last thing I want to mention, Vecna brings about a truth. We are all broken, and that is actually true. And we need Christ. We need a redeemer. And he tries to do that in a very totalitarian, evil way. And there's the one point where he's, talking to Will and all the other group, and Will's like, "No, we're fine. Like we're fine just as we are." Basically, like, no, it's not that we're broken, and we can handle it, and or we're good. And then he embraces, "I'm not afraid of you," kind of thing, and that was just again another one of those things where it's like, wow. So they make the evil character say something that is true, and because it's the savior characters that say no, now it's they're teaching you bad theology there, on purpose. And that's
Same with we could probably go through quite a number of modern movies, TV shows, and see where the villain or the antagonist is actually saying true things. You brought up the Joker before. They've used the Joker to do that in a couple of different Batman films. I think that is one of the ways, like you just stated, one of the ways to sort of move people emotionally within the story to have to accept something that's not quite true. And if you think of it, if the climax of this season was or the character arc for Will to come out as gay, and if the antagonist, if the villain is saying we're all broken, and he's saying no, we're not broken, it's a very weird sort of back and forth. I just learned that lesson, and through the power of friendship, we will defeat you. It's almost like Care Bears, in that way. But you're right. If we say no, you're not broken, it's like, well, I think go talk to someone, anyone. It doesn't even matter, and you will find the brokenness eventually. That's something that's very true, and it's it's probably a conversation to have with Brian Godawa. I do remember a talk he had a long time ago about horror, and one of the major components for horror should be a great good that defeats a insurmountable evil. And most of the story is showcasing how no one can really defeat this evil until a righteous one does. And if you ask me, it's been the downfall of the whole vampire genre, by not having Van Helsing around to counter Dracula, except of course in the movie Van Helsing. But yeah, that character is missing, and you need that character. You need that strong hero that defeats evil. That's kind of the point of horror. But yeah.
No, and it has changed substantially. So we can talk about a lot of movies. You're reminding me of a lot of stuff, but let's get right into the sauce before we forget. That was a little bit of an entertainment breakdown. Just be careful what you watch, and yeah, let's move forward. So, Mav, everyone and their moms, at least my mom, is talking about Venezuela. Everyone's talking about Venezuela. and all this stuff, and bad Trump, you know, bad guy, bad orange man, bad as usual, right? And while all this is happening, I've heard no one but us and maybe a few other podcasters talk about Iran.
Yeah.
So if people don't know,
Yep.
we're not going to talk about Venezuela. I have my opinions on that, but we're going to talk about Iran.
I mean,
yeah.
you kind of have to a little bit,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's all actually interlaced and interrelated. But you're right. I see so
Oh,
much focus
I
on.
will say this. I don't know
Oh,
what episode it is. The last few episodes, I don't know where, but we said that something was going to happen in Central and South America soon, because it just felt like that was coming. Like, and then boom, some stuff has happened. So
yeah.
and we said that during the Biden administration.
And it was nice that you're saying we. That was something that you brought up that you thought was really something you were feeling by some of the different news sort of focus that was happening at that time. Which I mean, believe it or not, it was Brazil and their elections, and Argentina and their elections, and then when Trump came into office, you had discussion around Panama. That was after that discussion about Panama was after you'd already made that statement. We're like, oh yeah, it's just kind of all happening. And there's also the Bitcoin with El Salvador, I believe, being a big deal. So there's been a lot of things, but this was the biggest thing for sure. And yeah, once again, Chuck vindicated.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just so many things where you see the media point at certain things, and it's like, no, look over here. While there's like this kind of middle ground of other things rising in the algorithms, and you're like, why is it all lining up? Why is the culture, the music, the news, even everyday posts from people, reels, everything was completely generating attention to Central and South America. And it wasn't really like my algorithm. I just kind of like noticed different things. If you look at my fire theft algorithm, it's like literally, it's very specific. So it just, to me, I was like, this is very strange. What's going on? It's very pushed. And I just knew, I just felt, because they were telling me to pay attention to South American music. They were telling me it's like too many things was just telling me to pay attention to South America without telling me to pay attention with South America. That's the thing. That's the subtle part where you think it just came out of nowhere. And I was like, nah, dude, something's brewing. Something's going to move big time down there. But yeah.
Do you remember? I know we're still like, you mentioned Venezuela, and we've yet to actually talk about Venezuela, but am I misremembering that there's something that was sort of flash in the pan in the news about documentation talking about Hitler escaping, faking his death and escaping to Argentina? That happened this past year too, right? Am I? I'm looking real quick. I'm doing this is in the moment
That
research.
sounds familiar.
Jerusalem Post. Here you go. The hunt for Hitler. CIA agent claims Nazi leader survived World War II in Argentina. And the date on this is June 22nd, 2025 was the original post, and it was updated June 5th, 2025. So this did happen in this last year also, which you would think that would be a much bigger deal. But I don't know if it was because it was reported by the Jerusalem Post. I don't know. But it's one of these other things that I thought it would, like, more would come out about this. But yeah, I don't know. But anyway, all that to say, a lot of stuff is happening in Central South America. I feel like it almost never hits the news, anything that's really going on. And then you have all of a sudden this thing was Venezuela. It felt all of a sudden, but it wasn't really, was it?
Yeah, exactly.
But the reason we're talking more about Venezuela, Chuck, you brought up Iran. I haven't really heard many people talk about Iran. I can't remember why I stumbled upon the very first day of these most recent demonstrations. They happened, I believe it happened on the 28th or 29th. where all of a sudden their currency just went into free fall. I stumbled upon a Twitter post about it, and I found a YouTube channel where they were talking about this, and there was unrest, and the rhetoric was different this time. And if we remember, there was something called they're calling the 12-day war. Do you remember this? The 12-day war happened June 23rd, which is interesting. It's right around when the revision to that article was. But from June 13th to June 24th of this year, you had that 12-day war. You remember where Israel just flies over and just hit it. I just looked it up here. More than 100 sites, including nuclear installations, and then nothing. Right. That was the weirdest part.
Mm-hmm. I remember during that time, Calvary Chapel was like, "Oh, it's here now. This is it, folks. Look up."
Well, I'm actually really glad I'm glad you brought that up, because I do not go to a church. I'm not part of a church that highlights that aspect of theology and geopolitical things that way. What were you hearing at that time? Because I feel like it's extremely important.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
what were you hearing?
At the time, I happened to have visited, although I wasn't going there. I was just visiting from time to time because I have friends and family in various Calvary chapels, and then I visited to, now more openly. There's at least a lot more posts I see about the heretic Jack Hibbs.
Yeah, it's interesting, huh?
There's so many posts posting saying he's a heretic. And this is not me saying, I'm telling you, this is what I see the posts. It's a lot of that stuff happening now. But
yeah.
Anyways, so that said, yeah. So yeah, I was going there, and they had the guy Amir Farsati, whatever you say, and he's talking. They're having that report thing that they do on Wednesday, Bible study kind of thing, where they're saying that this is it, man. Like, this is more likely could be a thing that's leading towards the rapture. This could be the beginning of this war, and they're talking a lot about Revelation and how it could line up. It's a possibility, but I'm so jaded by this could be it kind of theology that I wasn't phased whatsoever. To me, I was like, oh, another one of these sermons. Okay. I'm like, all right, babe, I guess we don't have to worry about buying a house, because a week from now we're gonna be out of here. So we'll see. But yeah, of course, nothing happened. So here we are.
But I guess my question was, why? Why is Iran in such focus for people who are pre-trib? Do they go into that?
Oh, you mean, do they preach it on it specifically? Why?
Yeah, why? Well, why is this with Iran?
That's the enemy. That's the enemy of Israel. Right? That's the main one. Then they need certain things to happen according to the book of Revelation, right? So they need certain enemies to be in place for it to be like, there we go. There's the unraveling of what the book of Revelation is saying. And not just that, I mean, they're tying it to the Old Testament, and it's a whole thing. And it's just constant. It's like, oh, this enemy, everyone, the entire world at one point is going to be against Israel. And so, that's kind of how they lump it in there. So it's an important enemy to have in order to make dispensational theology work.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the major point. That's kind of the major issue, because if you actually know Iranian history, this revolution that happened in 79, where they became an Islamic republic, was not a populist sort of revolution. In fact, if you talk to people who have been sort of refugees, as they would call themselves, they escaped Iran when Islam took over. They call Iran occupied Iran. This is occupied by an outside force. This is an external governmental system. And yes, there are a lot of ties to Islam in some of those regions. I think even a lot of people in the United States think that Iran is Arab. And they're not. They're Persian, which Persian is the Greek sort of it's like what we call them Germans, but they call themselves Deutsch. So the Greeks called them Persians, but they're just Iranians. That's actually the proper name. But they are not Muslim by tradition, by culture, and they've kind of been living with this subtle Persian culture. We'll just keep calling it Persian because that's what everybody would think of it as. This Persian culture is just kind of bubbling there. The reason I bring all that up before even talking about what's been going on is there are a lot of people who I think never thought this would ever happen. And you know, it goes on to this point where I think we are probably the least informed in our most recent history. Most people could tell you much more about World War II than they could about
what's happening
the
in last
Vietnam
few years.
War.
Right. And you said this would ever happen. What would ever happen? What specifically are you talking about?
Okay. So what happened 12 days ago was the economy was in a free fall. The real, which is their currency, it was 1.4 million real to $1 when it finally hit. Yeah, insane. And so there was such unrest. Like people are like, they just closed their shops and went out the streets. They're like, there's no point. Like, what is this? And so you have a whole bunch of people unemployed at that moment, or at least not in their places of employment, and you're going to have trouble anyway. That's just how that goes. This turned into some unrest, but then at that point there was something that shifted even during that day, where it went from being an economic sort of protest of sorts, demonstration. It turned into, you know what, we're just all fed up with this whole thing. To give you perspective, back in 79, when the original sort of revolution happened, and I'll put that in air quotes, the revolution in Iran, that was not populist, but there was still an economic component to that. We're talking, I think, if I'm remembering, this is just off the top of my head, it was like 70 real to $1.
Mm.
And there was like, everyone's panicking. We're talking over like 1.4 million. That's insane. So just like, we're like, that's it. Like, we can't do anything. And so that this demonstration, all of a sudden, it flipped somewhere in there. Things that had been bubbling up for decades, and specifically in the past few years, kind of boiled over, and you had massive demonstrations happening. And it wasn't just in one place like it sort of has been in the past, or in a couple of big cities. This was everywhere. By a week, it was in almost every major, medium-sized town, small towns, also people just out in the streets. How these demonstrations normally would happen, there's a lot of demonstration, a lot of people getting angry, there's some violence, some people get shot, and everybody goes home. Didn't happen this time. Every time it got bigger, almost 25% growth every single day. Till now, you're talking millions of people who just over the past 24 hours are marching in Tehran, where they're just having an insane time in the city. Government buildings, police stations burning. I think their national broadcast building is burned, just completely on fire.
You said they cut the internet, no? And then we had Iron Man step in.
Yeah, and that's happened in the past, where they'll cut the internet. The reason they cut the internet, they don't want stories of people being shot in the street, getting out. They don't want that. Every time they tried to turn off the internet during this 12-day period, it didn't quite go down. For some reason, there was still a lot of things going out. And the thought was Mossad was helping to bring in Starlink connections in, and other forms of connection. and they were sort of building towards this. The reason I say all that is because there was a lot of preparatory stuff happening before this. Yes, it was as you know, Chuck, I have converted. I'm no longer a conspiracy theorist. I am now an opportunity theorist,
Mhm.
and I think people have well-laid plans and they wait for the right opportunity.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what has been happening over the past couple of years, past couple of months, even in the past few weeks, has been opportunity. And even in the buildup, everybody's talking about Venezuela, but I don't think they're actually talking about what's really happening in Venezuela. This buildup was happening for months for Venezuela. In fact, this kind of dips back into conspiracy. Do you remember when all of the generals went and talked with Hegseth and he was all angry with them and that they couldn't do a push-up? Remember that?
No, I don't.
I'm sure our listeners will remember this. There was a lot of anger and a lot of like, well, yeah, they should be able to pass these different fitness tests and let's get rid of these lowered requirements for women and things like, and there's all this discussion. I actually think this was the time where all the generals were in one place for who I can't remember when that has ever happened, where these plans were laid out. I actually think that was the cover. There is I think in the Art of War, it says, if you are weak, make yourself look strong. And if you are strong, make yourself look weak.
Mm.
That was a moment where there were a lot of commentators that said this was a big morality blow to the military. Our enemies are seeing this. What are you doing? And I think that was probably the time where they laid out some of these plans. They've had plans for Iran for a long time. They've had plans for different aspects of Central South America for a long time. But believe it or not, Venezuela is a really important location for a long time. But also, they help to fund Iran. Iran helps to fund the Middle East. You have big investments from China for oil, for Russia with oil. And also, at the time where things were happening in Venezuela, it did multiple things. It cut off the escape of the heads of state from Iran. That most likely would have been the prime place for them to have escaped to. Then they couldn't go. And they also did it when they had high Chinese officials there. I can't remember now if Xi Jinping was there, but it was high Chinese officials have it right there. So it was also a show of force using Venezuela as, hey, we can come and do this at any time. Just kind of threw everyone off. And I think emboldened everything going on in Iran, honestly, and made everyone scared because now all of a sudden they're hitting where it hurts. They're hitting with the pocketbook and in these strategic spots here. So I think a lot of these things are all working together to just create massive chaos with these other connected nations. And now I've talked a lot, so I'll let you talk.
Yeah, no, and there's just the conspiracy I see out there about Venezuela is that Israel wanted it because it was independent from its banking system, from the Jewish banking system and things like that, the central. And that's kind of like they always throw that one out there, and I feel like that's the low grade conspiracy to kind of put you away from everything else because there's more to it. It's just like it's just the dust on top. You know what I mean? You're not even seeing the depth of this. Let's just make it look. I don't know. I feel like there's this rising of, how do I call this? Intentional. They're propping up anti-Semitism, right?
Yeah.
And some of it is and some of it isn't. But the way the right responds to it, sometimes its followers they become anti-Semitic. Or those weird people on the right center, like the people that really kind of believe in like Tucker Carlson and all that stuff. And,
don't let me forget Tucker Carlson, but continue.
And so I feel like that's kind of the muddying of the situation is let's only pay attention to actually the Jewish people are bad. And I feel like there's a lot of that happening on purpose. And I completely understand where some of those people are coming from, but the response to it is it is becoming very borderline hateful, and that isn't what Christians should be doing anyways. But Christian nationalists have different ideas of how they should respond on certain things, and so it's just getting so muddy. So I understand where those people are coming from. I get it that there is a lot of people uh, evil that come from Israel and they're wealthy. I get it 100%. We can talk for hours about that, but I feel like that isn't the point. I feel like that's just tip of the iceberg. It literally is. And meanwhile, there's a lot of other things happening, and you're not even going to look at it just because you're too worried about, Israel, just specifically the bad Jews or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Are there anti-Semitic people out there? Of course, there's anti-everybody people out everywhere, and that you don't have to go too far for a lot of those things. And I think that's a whole other show in and of itself.
Mhm.
But it really did feel like for the last couple years, and it kind of hit its peak right after Charlie Kirk stuff, that became it was weird because it was like kind of old school conspiracy theory stuff where
Mhm.
that was always a pocket of people where it's the Jews. That was always a group that was around, and everybody's like, oh, okay, yeah. The last couple of years that came into focus for a lot of people, honestly, I feel like it's a distraction, and I feel like it's the conspiracy of convenience,
Mhm.
where someone would go in and it's like, "What is going on? This is so strange. What could it be?" And someone goes like,
It's
"Oh,
just gonna fuel the anti-Semitic propaganda, and
yeah,
they'll probably pass more laws to help them in some sort of way. It's just gonna make all those people that compare Trump to Hitler make that look more real, and it's not even close.
no,
It,
no,
it's not
no,
even close. It's like not even a thing, but little things will happen where they're like, you see, this is just like it happened in World War II. And I'm
yeah,
like, no, it's not, dude, not even close. But they want you to think that just because I feel like they're generating this hate so they can come up with this fake Christian crusade that's also, I feel, pushed, which is not a thing, but it's
yeah." It becomes a thing where if you can connect it to the Jews, people stop looking.
Mhm.
That's the most dangerous thing because then you stop comparing what's going on to other things that you know. You stop learning from history because why learn from history? I've already figured it out. Oh, I figured all of it out. And it's kind of insane. So the other thing is that a lot of times evil people will do good things because it'll line up with their own interests. And so it's at the same time you can point to someone and say, "Look, they're doing a good thing. They must be good." And we got to guard ourselves from that too. Chuck, we are in the boring middle where we both point out at different directions to say, "Well, that's actually not great, and look at that thing. That's actually not as bad as everyone says." And so then you know what ends up happening? Everybody hates us. And that's fine. But
Mhm.
not you, dear listener. You, of course.
Not you faithful
No.
few hundred that are always downloading the show first.
Always, always. But I bring up Tucker Carlson because what we sort of had in the last few months um, was this sort of like division in the quote unquote the right, right, right. All of a sudden you had the Candace Owens, you had the Tucker Carlsons, you had people who all of a sudden were becoming polarizing folks, and it was scaring a lot of people who were just like, "What's happening to this coalition of the conservatives? We're losing our consensus here." Um, well, that got worse today. I have something to share here. If you are looking to get some information on Iran and what's going on, I have a couple of channels, a couple of individuals that you should be following. One of them is, let's see here. Let's see if I can share this here. Ah, you see this? So her name's Goldie Gamari. Goldie Gamari, she was actually Canadian, in Canadian Parliament, but her channel is really great. It's very direct. It's not all polished. Doesn't look like a newscast, and she's just giving her opinion. She is Iranian, and has been speaking out on a lot of these things for a long time. So you can kind of look through here. Well, check this out. Oh, by the way, this here, if we ever release any kind of video, the new Iranian flag, which is the old one, is pretty cool. It's got a lion with a sun and a sword, and anyway, it's kind of neat. But as we scroll down,
it's got all the symbols that matter.
Oh, absolutely. As we go down, this is right here. So I'm gonna pause this and I'm gonna rewind it. And audio, it's a little muddied. Could you hear that? Is the audio coming through?
Yeah.
Okay. So turn it up a little bit. You can hear this. They were double checking. I was watching this live as it was happening. They were double checking the Islamic TV stations and what they were airing. It was about 11:30 p.m. in Iran. You've got 1 million people marching outside. Buildings are on fire. You've got the internet down, and you've got people shooting out at protesters. And listen to what they find on Iranian TV.
It's live Islamic Republics. They're airing on Sadr Sima on Islamic Republic's TV. They're airing live stream. Show that.
Look at that.
They're translating it in real time in Persian.
You can't see it. They're translating it. It's Tucker Carlson. Islamic National TV is airing an interview from Tucker Carlson. And you know what they're talking about? How Wikipedia is bought and paid for. It was that interview, and it is run by the Jews.
Yeah.
This is running on Iranian TV during a revolution. They're trying to say, hey, no. All the stuff you're seeing on the internet, no, you can't trust it. Don't trust it. They're using Tucker Carlson to try to encourage the Islamic regime.
Yeah,
I was blown away.
Yeah.
And you can see it. And if someone sees this video, you can see the look on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
That is what's airing on Iranian TV. So all that to say, do we really know what's going on? Do we really know who is a voice for truth and who's saying correct things or whatever? Can correct things be taken out of context? I'll be honest, I don't listen to anything from Tucker Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a guy I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about him. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, man. But this just kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
But anyway.
No, it's you start to wonder why. I mean, you hear about all these CIA assets that are just placed in normal everyday jobs. And I think, in my opinion, he could be one of those. He applied for the CIA, quote unquote, wasn't accepted and became a journalist, which I'm like, that's literally the like the telltale sign that you probably did get accepted, but
yeah, exactly.
But and now you're used to say outrageous things on purpose, and then they use your media to do things. But he has that ability to be like, I'm just having conversations. How he laughs all like that crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm just asking questions, Anyways. All right. You're gonna show something else here?
Yeah, one last thing from this, and I would recommend following Goldie. She is putting out some good information. There's a couple other places too. Maybe we'll put some links or something around there. But she tweeted this out 11 hours ago now. So this is around noon today. Day we're recording. Massacre happening right now in Iran. Islamic terrorists have shut down the internet and are murdering Iranians right now. And there's a video here. They're all appealing to Trump because Trump made a statement to say if they start mowing down civilians, that U.S. is going to come in and hit them hard. Mm-hmm. He didn't say mowing down. This is my own paraphrase. But just to kind of give you an idea here, let's just want you to listen and you can hear.
I'm Mr. Trump. Here is Mashhad City. Ayatollah killed my people. Please help to my people. Please head to Reza Pahlavi. Come to Iran. Baby Netanyahu, please come to Iran. Please help to Iranian people. Ayatollah killed my people. Please help.
You can just kind of hear the sounds of chaos
Yeah.
going on in the street. But the appeal is send help for my people. They're killing my people. So this is something. This is civil war. This is really happening. You can see in the images here, just utter chaos.
Mm-hmm.
This is a major city, just completely overrun. Millions of people, security forces. It's just insanity. The internet's down. This was taken at that time when the internet went down. It was then posted after Elon Musk basically made Starlink free, right? People could connect. But this is insanity. What's also insanity is that it's really not covered.
Mm-hmm.
All these different things that are happening in the world, they are all interconnected and they're interlaced. Most of this stuff right here is probably to preemptively help protect the United States from something with China. That is probably what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the people in Iran have been struggling for decades, since 79, under the Islamic regime. You have Christianity beginning to flourish in Iran, which, if you ask me, might be one of the reasons, different reason, why they would want to overthrow it. That you have and cause some sort of destabilization there and reestablishment with some other government, because you have the last, I think the estimate was in the last 5 to 10 years, over 1 million people convert to Christianity. Christianity is the fastest growing religion. Contrary to popular opinion, only about 19% of Iran would identify as Islamic. The second fastest growing religion is Zoroastrianism, which is an ancient belief system, ancient monotheistic system of belief that predates Islam. And it's crazy to see all these things happening. And the reason to bring all these things up, for years, decades, we have been told that the people of Iran want to destroy Israel and they want to destroy America. And that's just flat out false. The Islamic regime might, and they might be saying that.
Which is
Iran does.
Which is the small percentage.
Very small.
Comparatively,
yeah. So all that to say, going back to eschatological discussion of end times, pre-trib folks, dispensational folks, for them, this is kind of an awkward place to be. Because, and I have my library of old eschatology, and when I say old, I just mean from the 70s and 80s and some from the 90s, is growing. And there's a lot of linchpins connected with Russia and connected with Iran and Turkey. The fact that all of these, and the fact is that with Iran, potentially the Islamic regime in Iran falling in the next couple days, which is highly likely. You're talking about this setting back dispensational and pre-trib eschatology quite a bit, because this is going to have a domino effect. There's already things happening in Lebanon because this is happening. They're dismantling Hezbollah. This might be the end of radical Islam in the Middle East as far as we know it. It'll be restructured, but you might have a lot of places look a lot more like United Arab Emirates than what you see today. So, this might be the dismantling of all of this, and Europe might be the most Islamic area of the East.
Sorry to laugh, but no.
Which is also one reason why in the West it's difficult to get this information, because the BBC is not necessarily forthcoming with a lot of this information because of their own stance they have right now concerning Islam. So,
no, for sure. I mean, that's another conversation. I think it all connects to powers and principalities. Really, it seems like a lot of the battles really are against the Christian faith in secret, and they're just kind of disguised in geopolitical situations all the time. And but yeah, you were mentioning Amir, even almost not liking this idea, or did you just mention that because I was talking about Amir?
No, we had talked about this before off air, either today or yesterday. The fact that it's putting out some videos to say the things that you need to understand, and you could tell we're already beginning the backpedal on some of these things, and you don't really understand what's going on.
Yeah, so I think the conversations are something around almost don't trust the possible peace that might be coming because it's a false peace, because it doesn't fit the specific biblical theology, right?
I think that's going to be one of the things. And could a peaceful Iran be co-opted before it's formalized? Absolutely. But as it is right now, the people want their king back. So all this rhetoric that you hear about, this is about economics. No, they are chanting they want their king back. This is another element that I think is just paradigm shattering, that if we go from an Islamic republic to a monarchy of any kind, a constitutional monarchy is most likely, but the people want the Shah. They don't trust anyone else. They don't want anyone else. They want the Shah. Shah just means king in Persian. So they want the king back. And so you could have in the 21st century a return to kings and kingdoms. If that happens in Iran, and if it happens other places, this is a massively and crazy paradigm shift. We just had sort of protests happening a few months ago in the United States. No kings.
No kings, yeah.
And it's so funny how it's like, no, actually, places where we had kings, we're going to put kings back in. All of these things to say, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 different elements within these different things we're discussing now for future shows that we've talked about that we'll be sort of laying out. And I don't think we really want to show our cards yet, but
yeah,
those are coming. This is a lot bigger of an issue than I think people realize. It's not just about Venezuela. People make a big deal about going in and kidnapping somebody. What's the difference if they do it loud or they do it quiet through the CIA, moving them somewhere else? I mean, I don't understand what the real difference is. And I don't understand being people who turned a blind eye to Obama doing things in Pakistan and Libya and other places.
He had a better press team,
Definitely could be.
No, but I think it's just more of the same, where things are covered up on purpose and things are also revealed on purpose. It's just to keep everyone in chaos, all the people on the left, right, all that stuff. I think it's kind of on purpose. So I feel like if you often get upset or mad at something that your favorite podcasters or newscasters on the left or right, or your favorite political person, and you get easily triggered on, look what the left's doing, look what the right's doing, you're playing right into the whole thing. You're playing right into the thing. Don't get upset, because there's partial truths to a lot of things. Yeah, okay, so they're trying to compare him right now, Trump, going in there because we want the oil. Like, it's just the age-old story of America getting oil or whatever. And it's like, dude, that's so not even, I mean, that's low level, bro. That's literally one of the eggs, half an egg of an entire basket. Like, it's not even, it's just the yolk, bro. That's just not even a full egg, bro. Like, it's just not what it is. There's way more. But the thing is, you have that conversation, people will lose their mind, and then they don't even, expand further because of all the brain rot and everything. So just relax, pray for some discernment, pray the Holy Spirit give you strength to have peace, because in your peace you can find the ability to think better and not let yourself just easily be swayed by all of the continual daily nonsense. And hopefully, I know our show is anti-hype type show at this point. It used to be not that. I mean, I just feel like God led it in this direction, because I have spoken and seen a lot of people in the conspiracy world have very difficult lives too. They're just emotionally not doing well. And I feel like you need to take a step back, relax, because at the end, call me, call me reformed or whatever, but I'm like, sovereignty overall, man. God's sovereignty overall. Is he not in charge? I mean, even in the Calvary circles that I, visit, everyone's always talking about God's in charge, God's in charge. I'm like, do you know what you're saying? Because if you do, you should really just extrapolate that phrase across your entire faith, because it seems you only use that here and there. He is definitely in charge. Definitely. So let things play out. For those people on the right that are new Christians thinking they can battle the New World Order. I get the concept.
Which one?
Exactly. There's so many, you know what I mean? I get the idea of battling against the anti-moral things that they push, for sure. I will always push against anything that's, trying to cancel out biblical morality. But I'm not going to itself fight against the Hydra monster that it might become, because if we believe in the book of Revelation, they're going to succeed for a time, right? And I don't even know where I stand. Am I a futurist? Where am I? To be honest, like I've studied the book of Revelation from different people's views, and I'm just like, I don't know, dude. We'll see. We'll see. Like, oh, he's going to come back in a week or two. Okay, cool, man. Well, I got rent due next week. I'm still going to pay the rent. So, and I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying all of these things are a possibility, because prophecy is deliberately cryptic. Mm-hmm. Because if the plan is completely laid out and you understand it, that means Satan understands it, and that means it doesn't make sense. It's supposed to not be understandable until retrospect. And I get there's like short-term prophecy and all this stuff, like I can prophesy something happening and it does happen. I'm talking about overall, the bigger picture of prophecy. Relax, folks. Sovereignty overall. Believe it. God is doing things even if it doesn't look like he is. And all you got to do at the end of the day is, first of all, spread the gospel, right? I mean, that's the number one thing we're called to, the Great Commission. Talk to somebody about Jesus. Man, just do it. Pray for somebody. Just do it. Just be a Christian. Be there for your wife. Be there for your family. But also, if you're going to look into all this stuff, great, fantastic. Don't worry though. Just relax. We're only sharing this because when you die on the hill of any possible conspiracy theory, it just destroys so much of the joy of the Lord. It just destroys it. And I'm not saying you're not saved or nothing. I'm just saying you're probably going to be miserable till you die, and then you end up in heaven. And then you're like, oh God, I could have had a much happier life if I just didn't die on a certain specific hills. Because look, other than Jesus Christ being God, dying for us, resurrecting, I'm like, dude, everything else is just a conversation we can have. Relax. And why earlier when I mentioned, like, everyone calling Jack Hibbs a heretic or whatever, I personally am not quick to call someone a heretic, even if I do hear him say heretical things. I'll tell you why, because I've been there, done that, and I would have died on so many hills in my early 20s. I'm 41 years now, no, I'll be 41 this year. I'm 40 right now, but I received Christ when I was 15, and then I was in a very heretical church, so I believed to the death. Like you would have met me in those early years. I was breaking laws just to spread the gospel. Like, and then what I mean by that is like, I was hopping over private places like fences or whatever, just to knock on a door, just to get in and be like, hey, I want to talk about Jesus or whatever, or I want to invite you to church, whatever. That's what I mean by breaking laws. Like whatever I had to do to spread the gospel, right? And then on top of that, when they would get to church, I would teach things from the altar, because I had the opportunity many times to teach or to visit people at hospitals and teach them heretical things that I personally believed in with all my heart. My intentions were absolutely good. I never had in my heart some sort of evil to try and manipulate people. So that said, I think all of us at one point might be there not knowing, because it is impossible to fully understand the complexities of everything that is the Bible, everything other than the very simple message of the gospel. That's why I think the gospel message is, in my opinion, a lot simpler. But overall, I know to carry through it can be difficult. I get it. And there's some complexities there. The gospel is bigger than you think, by the way. Plug. But but what I'm saying is that just folks, just relax, follow Christ, talk about him, and yeah, go ahead, go. Let's see where stuff happens. Listen to whatever show you like that's kind of weird and interesting, but always ground yourself in reality. And at the end of the day, let's be there for one another. I'll remind people over and over until I annoy people. He's been finishing the show with that all of the time now. Well, that's fine. It's just a reminder because I see it so often. I follow a lot of people on different platforms, and their posts are just so aggressive, so angry. Christian brothers, and I'm just like, relax, dude, chill. And they're arguing in the comments, and it's like, dude, who cares? Oh, you don't believe Nephilim were giants? Okay, God bless you. I'm not gonna argue with you, dude. I'm done with all that, dude. Well, actually, there's plenty of you. You don't read your Bible then, because dude, I'm not doing that, dude. I'm not. Go listen to the show if you want to. We did a show about it. Bye. You know what I mean? So anyway, sorry, ranting on there.
Yeah. One other thing as we kind of round this out, which I think supports what you just mentioned. At the time of this recording, 70 years ago today, there were 5 missionaries that were killed in the jungles of Ecuador. If you've read the book Through Gates of Splendor, you know what I'm talking about. Jim Elliot, Nate Saint, 2 more famous ones. Those 5 guys prepared for years and years to hop in a plane to share the gospel with a tribe in the middle of jungle, and were cut down with spears before they could do it. And it was their subsequent people who followed up, namely Elizabeth Elliot and I think it was Nate Saint's sister. But yeah, when it comes down to it, all of this hype, all the different fringe things, all these different things, if it's not driving you to share the gospel with other people, if it's not helping you understand Jesus better and sharing that with someone else, maybe you do need to set it aside for a minute and look and see what God's calling you to do, who he's calling you to talk to, because you can't fix Venezuela and you can't fix Iran, but you are called to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And in doing so, you'll fulfill God's law. And if you can do that, you aren't doing too bad.
Right. Yeah. Hey, man. I mean, there's so much happening, we can go on different examples of what I don't think is heresy, but whatever, they're calling, like Kirk Cameron, calling him a heretic, talking about hell's not eternal, which we did a show on. But think about it. It's like, if I convince you, Mav, that hell is not eternal, but everything else you still hold true about Jesus, salvation, and everything, you're still saved. And then I'm going to be wrong about hell, and that's it. There's no, you know what I'm saying? It's not relax. It's okay. So, if your point to convert someone, which, by the way, you don't do, the Holy Spirit is doing the work. You're just a vessel. But if you think that the only way I can save a person is by scaring them from hell, then you're literally not understanding the power of the Holy Spirit whatsoever. Because he didn't call us to fear people into salvation. You're going to go burn in that place, which is happens a lot. That's not what we're called to do, or to use fear only. I know there's times where we must present certain truth, but it's just people just connect to like a certain part of that belief. And it's like, no, we need this to be true. We need the people that we want to suffer. They'll get their judgment in the end and suffer forever, which is a weird thing. It's kind of like hate. Isn't that hate? Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that hate? Or why do you want people to burn forever? Why would you want that? I'll let God do what he's going to do. I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm not siding with annihilation or whatever, which personally I lean towards. But it's like, how about let God decide how he's going to judge those? And I'm not really happy or not. I'm a human being. I feel a little, I agree that it sounds a bit harsh to sin for a lifetime and then suffer for an eternity. In my head, I kind of agree with that concept. But at the same time, I'm like, who am I to decide at the end the judgment? And I wholly believe that God makes a better judgment than I, even if I don't fully understand it. And that's where I believe we should all be. Like, let God decide, the sovereign, omnipotent, omniscient God, all knowing what he's going to do, and you share the gospel. You know what I mean? So there's many different things that this can be applied to. This one thing that I'm telling you to be like can be applied. Basically, apply it to what you call denominations. Apply it to eschatology. What do you call that? Apply it to doctrines. Don't be too hard on this specific doctrine. The only thing that I feel like is untouchable is the nature of God, Jesus, the Trinity. Other than that, have the conversations, chill out, and we'll see what happens at the end. We'll see when you die, you open the eyes and you can ask the questions. Oh, so I was really wrong about that thing. You'll find out. And just because you were wrong about a specific thing, I don't think you're going to be kicked out of heaven, in my opinion. But, it's just one of those things. But anyways, all right.
I guess we'll find out, Chuck.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, folks, that's all we got. And thanks for tuning back in. If you are listening right now, you know where to find us, Fire Theft Radio. Still on Facebook, still on Instagram. You can find us on all the platforms there. The best way to support the show, of course, is to rate the show. Give us a rating if you like the show. If you don't like it, I don't know, do me a favor and don't rate it. Just keep your hands off those stars, But I'm just playing. Do whatever you want. God does what he wants with the show, and I'm just here to say yes to him. He called us to do it. We're still doing it despite our busy lives. So we're going to be here, and we'll try and post as often as we can. We're not stopping. I know it's not very cool of a podcaster not to be consistent. I know that's the thing. If you want your thing to grow, yada yada yada. Sorry, sorry. Sorry. But hey, we're doing our best. Other than that, folks, pray for us, pray for Mav, pray for Chuck. If you guys want prayer, please reach out. We'll always be praying for you guys, the listeners. Thank you so much. Happy birthday to Daniel. I know this guy named Daniel follows us. Happy birthday. I just saw it was your birthday. And if you listen to this, I'm giving you a shout out. He did a post where he's like, I'm 34 now, so I'm going to do 34 push-ups. That's awesome. He's always posting how healthy he is. I even told him, like, dude, your goals for me right now, dude, because I got heavy and I know what to do, but I need to do it. I got to get that Jocko Willink discipline in me. Yeah. Discipline is freedom. But all right, folks, I'll see you later. Any final things, Matt, before we go?
Nah, just keep looking up. Still the best way.
Yes, indeed. Other than that, don't forget to spread the fire. Later.
Later, everybody.